Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the ESBN, the Esports Bronco News Network. I'm your host. My name is Chippy. I realized last week I didn't actually truly introduce myself, and so for all you new listeners out there, I got a couple new friends with me here today. I have my current club president Jay and League of Legends varsity player in the jungle, right?
Hello, that's me.
That is him. And then I got Max. You're a new player to the teams this year. Say hello.
Yep. I'm a new recruit. Just came here.
So welcome. What year are you, Max?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior? Okay. And then you are also a junior, right?
I'm a fourth year.
Okay, you are.
But
Okay.
I have to go for one more semester anyway.
You are also, yeah. Me and Jay, we're also fourth years. So we're in it for the long haul so far. But a little bit more of a formal introduction. Oh my goodness. Introduction. To go a little bit more about myself, I realized that I'm the community manager here for our club at Western Michigan University for esports, and I'm also the production lead. So a lot of the streams our WMU esports program puts on. Do a lot of that kind of stuff. It's pretty straightforward type of deal. I have a lot of fun, at least getting to know the players for the most part, and then hosting this podcast is the other thing I've picked up this semester as a part of the production. It's kind of fun to have a little bit of tie-in to some of the stuff we've done this semester. So that's my kind of formal introduction out of the way. I don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of that anymore. You should know who I am at this point. Jay, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
So I am Jay Orkalix. I am the president of Club Esports at WMU. I'm also the League of Legends coach for Club Esports at WMU. And I'm also the varsity jungler for esports at WMU.
And the team captain.
Yes, and I'm also the captain for varsity. So
There you go.
I do a little bit of
He's
League
putting
of
his
Legends.
resume out there.
I do a little bit of League.
Oh, goodness. Max.
Yeah, I'm Max. Pyfitch, call me. That's my gamer tag. I'm the support on the varsity team. That's my entire resume because I'm new.
How'd you get into esports, Max?
Oh, well, okay. How I got into the game itself was back in season 9, and that was just a high school thing where my brother was like, let's play. How I got into esports here, I don't know. I mean, I've been here for maybe about 2 years, year and a half now because I transferred in. I had no intention of playing games here, but as soon as I heard that they had Game On and they had new opportunities on campus to start playing and get involved in the actual gaming and esports community, I was like, this is cool. I mean, I might as well join the Discord for esports and talk to the coach, talk to who I can, and then from there it was just gateway, get into the next step.
That's really funny to hear because last week I had Evan, coach from the Overwatch team here for our varsity teams, and then Zach, our Meridian, he was here last week as well, the coach for you guys on the varsity team. That guy. Oh, okay. Whoa. No. I joke. But we were actually talking about how crazy important the new student center has been to a lot of our growth this year. There are so many people I've met that had no idea esports was a thing here until we had the Game On Center, and then we put up flyers in there, and they were like, whoa, we have esports? So we met a lot of new people and a lot of new recruits this semester to a few of our teams, funnily enough.
Yeah, that's me. I'm one of those.
I'm one of those. But that's awesome to hear. It's funny to tie it back into that because it makes more sense now that, the new student center does that much.
Yeah, no, it was huge.
Yeah, I've seen just from the promotion in the student center alone, I've seen actually pretty considerable numbers joining the Discord, getting involved with the club, involved in all sorts of stuff like that. And just having that presence on campus because, our main facility is the esports arena in the little theater, which is not in the middle of main campus. And that really puts us at an awkward position where if you want, it's a higher barrier to entry than most other things where, for, let's say, Anime Club, you can just come to their meeting here in the student center. And that's an easy way to get involved. Shout out Anime Club. Love Anime Club.
Love anime.
Addicts. But the big problem is, for esports, right, we don't have that exactly because people couldn't just go to our meeting in the Burnout or something. We would meet at the little theater because that's where all of our esports stuff is. So now people are able to actually encounter us on campus, and they're able to, without having to dedicate themselves to walking up a giant hill and 20 minutes away from their dorms, they can actually, okay, well, after my class in Sangren, I'll go walk over and I'll go take a look. And it's just it's a gateway to get people actually involved in our program, and I've been so happy to see it.
How much do you use the game on room, Max?
Maybe like 3 hours every other day. I go in there just after my class is done, and I'll hang out, play games. Like, I try to get there when I can because school gets stressful, and I mean everybody needs some way to let that go. That's been my way.
I can preach that.
Yeah.
Before we did our Rocket League stream, the varsity Rocket League stream yesterday, I played like an hour and a half of Rocket League in the arena, just like waiting to start streaming. So I relate to that. Something Evan talked about as well last week was the UCC, or the student computer center that we had here on campus before it got torn down for this place, to change really into this place. That building's still over there, but it's closed. But that used to be a space where people would do the same thing. They'd come in, they would come in there to play, just hang out for a little bit in between classes, since it was like right in the center of campus, right? You were able to just walk anywhere, do what you needed to. No, next to Bernhard. There's a place called the UCC. Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't hear about it until they told me about it before we started the podcast last week. But it's funnily enough, so those are some of the crazy things. There was a student who went in there and was cheating on Counter-Strike, like right in front of everyone. That was a funny little story.
Legend.
Yeah, Word.exe legend.
We had our own legend here. My goat.
But those are like some of the funny little things you'll see. But the Game On Center and our arena do a lot better job to mitigate those things now.
Yeah.
So you can't just walk in and start cheating in a video game. But that's awesome to hear. Jay, tell me a little bit more how you got involved in esports here at Western.
So I actually, when I was in high school, I joined, and this is how old I am, I joined the Western Michigan University League of Legends Discord. It wasn't even the esports Discord yet. It was just the League of Legends club.
Oh yes, I remember, because we started off as a League of Legends club and then turned into an esports club that shifted to Overwatch.
At that time, I was in like Diamond. This is when I was in my first sort of peak rank. And the team kind of sucked. No offense to them, but they were like gold plat average, and I was a high schooler with a massive ego, so I was like, oh, these guys suck. It's not worth my time.
It sounds like you held them back.
Yeah. So I just didn't take an interest my first year here out on campus. And then eventually I saw I don't know what it was. I saw some random promotional thing for the esports stuff in 2021, going in my second year. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll give it a look. Like, I'll see what it's like. And I remember I went to the open house event. And I remember going to the arena and seeing the lights on the stage and seeing all the PCs, seeing all the people. I fell in love instantly. I just knew from that event that I wanted to be part of whatever was going on here. And from that, I went to tryouts, tried out, got put onto the League of Legends team. I was the support, then the top laner, then the mid laner, and now I'm finally the jungler. Yeah, the support is definitely the laser role. But now that I've played 4.5 roles in competitive, it's been a very fun and interesting experience. And on top of that, I also, last year, partway through the year, the VP of production stepped down. I don't remember too much about how I came to the conclusion, but I just was like, you know what? I'll do it. I don't know anything about production, but I'll do it. So I signed up.
Like one stream.
Yeah, signed up. Boom, I was in, and I had become an officer. And I had no idea how any of the production stuff worked, and there wasn't really...
Oh yeah, ignore the lights. Sorry.
Bro, Nocturnal.
You'll know. I should have mentioned it before we started. There's a little light thing that happened.
All right, no worries. I thought that our powers straight up died.
No.
All right. But anyway, so I get in as the VP of production, and I have no idea how most of the production stuff works. And then I was just like, okay, cool. But it sort of ended up working out that you, Chippy, just basically did a majority of the production stuff there, and I was just picking up other random things that weren't getting done. So it helped get us sort of back on track and back into getting a lot of stuff going, because I had a lot of extra time and I was motivated, so all of a sudden I'd be picking up random projects that we hadn't done in a while, like updating our bylaws, updating this, doing that, doing this. And then I decided that this year I was just going to be president. So
I was just going.
I decided that I would be president.
It's time.
I wish it was that easy.
And then, I mean, for me it was. Nobody ran
really
against
was,
me.
actually.
I was
Nobody ran against you, yeah.
unopposed, but
so funny.
But you're the president of what?
I'm the president of Club Esports at WMU.
Welcome,
Bro,
This guy did not even know.
He does not
Bro
know
does
about
not
the
know.
I just know him as the juggler.
This
Doesn't gank me.
The victim complex my bot lane has, I swear. They get the most ganks out of any lane, and then we ask them about it, and they're like, yeah, my jungler never ganks. Yeah.
You don't need any help in those lanes. You don't need a third person running down.
Yeah,
You're fine.
They
You
should
know
just
that.
be able to win on their own.
Alex isn't even a second. Dude, if you ask Alex, I'm not in his lane either.
I'm sorry, that's really funny. Shout out to the other bot laner, Kylon.
He's the GOAT, man. We've been sticking him on the champions who can play by themselves, and I just walk around the map and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Roaming support is way more fun. I have more fun roaming as a support than sitting there in the lane.
Bro gets to play an open world game, and then Alex just gets to play
It's
Ezreal.
like a World of Warcraft.
Yeah, basically.
Bro's making a Genshin Impact on the opposite side of the map.
So yeah, awesome to hear you guys got involved. You are listening to 89.1 WIDR FM, and so far your Broncos this season have started off their games. Our Rocket League season is coming here to a close in a couple weeks. The Varsity Valorant team is also going to be wrapping up their season here in a few weeks, but the fall warm-up for you guys has also started for the League of Legends team. So tell me a little bit about how that's going on. I mean, you guys are in a couple early leagues to prepare yourself for collegiate League of Legends.
So this year we decided that we were going to join both the CLOL Fall Warm-Up and NACE Star League to get as much practice on stage as possible going into our CLOL season in the spring, because this roster is the highest average rank of any roster we've had historically here at Western for League of Legends. So we really want to be able to make a deep run, make CLL playoffs, and be able to see how far we can get in those playoffs. Started out by going 2-1 in a scrim against like Triple Masters team, and we were feeling great at the start of our season. And then the character building arc began, as I call it, where we got the cumulative 17% scrim win rate.
Zach didn't want to say it last week, but you said it, so now it's out there.
We can lose 13 in a row.
A total of 6 and 25 was our
After the first 2 wins, we
scrim
proceeded
win
to
rate.
lose 13 games in a row before we finally went 1-2 and then lost the next 8.
Let it be known that
Is it
nobody
like
beats
series?
WMU
Yeah, they were best of 3.
League of Legends varsity,
games.
14 games in a row.
Did you pick up any of those games, or did you lose like 3 in a row each and every
We
single
went
time?
0-3, 0-3, 0-4.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
we lost
goodness.
14 games in a row with no break.
But as you would expect, we're going in with this 17% scrim win rate into our first game for CLL Fall Warm-Up. And it was last Saturday. Was it Sunday? But whichever one. It was last weekend. And we go in, we're at the arena that afternoon, and as everyone would expect with a scrim performance like that and with team morale where it was, we got a quick 1-0 over the first opponent and then stomped the second one even harder to bring us to 2-0 in the CLL standings, meaning that we are 1 game away from locking playoffs.
Well, there you go. And how many more games? Do you just have one more game after this, or is there?
So there is 2 more games this weekend, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, and then from there, if we are 3-1 or 4-0, we will be getting into playoffs, which then will be the next week and then the week after that, depending on how we do.
So this next weekend really matters. This is
does.
the big weekend.
This is the weekend to play.
Do you get your matchups before the weekend, or do you get them like the day of?
We know who we're going to be playing next.
So you're prepping already,
Yeah,
hopefully?
we do our prep. Although Zach's been doing the recent strategy of not showing us.
I would also do that.
We psych ourselves out.
I would do that too
sometimes,
especially with the character building, air quotation
It was
Yeah, the character
we
building.
had to form as a team.
Yeah. We had to, suffering builds character, and
Yeah.
we've built a in-depth character. We would be the best D&D players on earth with our character sheets at this point, because we've developed some character.
We have
But
developed. I think a funny thing to point out is in the CLOL games, I was told to play 2 champions who I did not play a single time in any of our scrims to that point. Like, the rest of the team we had a really good comp, and we drafted so much better than them. Shout out Zach. But at the end of it, I was the last pick both of the times, or one of the last picks, and both times he was just like, all right, let's just pull this thing out that you've never played in a scrim before. And I don't know, I thought I played well, but we 2-0'd both of them, so
keep cooked.
I have
As long as
100%
they're
win rate
scared,
on both of
right?
those champions.
Nah, but this guy got a Rakan ban from downtown.
Respect, they know that'd be the difference.
It was.
Don't let my Rakan on the riff.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. We had a bonus 5% chance of winning those games going into them, just based on the bans the enemy teams did alone.
Yeah, they were
because the first game,
Great.
Viego, Aatrox, and Cassante were all 3 not banned. Mind you, I have 3 times the Viego games of any other champion, and I'm Masters. And then we have literally the rank 1 Cassante NA on our team, who did not get a Cassante ban, or his second most played Aatrox, which is a very good competitive pick right now, ban.
Yeah, he didn't even play Cassante either of the games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Casante's in the mud right now, right?
Well,
not
now
even
this was
the
before the rework.
swamp.
This was a bit before it, but
This was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
he's tragedy in solo queue level, but if you're very good at him or in competitive, it's still a decent champ.
Okay.
Now
It's
I'm
just
not
Aatrox was
100%
better.
sure.
They left Aatrox open, so pick
Yeah.
Aatrox. That's how the game works.
There you go.
Unfortunate.
That's funny.
Star League, on the other hand, we had our first game for that on Tuesday. Overall, fairly competitive games, especially our second game was pretty close, but it was, unfortunately, we got introduced to our good friend Owen, Owen 2. So, happens to the best of us, but
It does.
Star League is very much being seen by us as a learnment, is what I called it yesterday, where it is for practice. It is not something we're going to be too stressed if we don't do well in, especially because we are playing against teams that are like the number 1, number 2 seed in our CLOL MAC League, like that tier of team, where we're playing against, the roster that we're playing against tonight has 3 challengers.
3 challengers. Yep.
So
The one from Tuesday had 2 grandmasters, both in my phone.
yeah.
Oh,
So we're looking down the barrel of some pretty intense teams, but it's just a matter of if we can learn to survive against these teams, and if we're able to be taking wins off of these teams, then beating the average opponent in our CLOL games is going to be a lot easier. And we don't have to beat everyone in CLOL so long as we're able to making top 6 is playoffs in I believe there's a total of 13 people in our division. So
We just got to be better than 7 people.
yeah, and I feel pretty confident that we'd be able to do that if we're able to be performing at this level and be learning from these games against Grandmaster Challenger level teams.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that it doesn't even matter if win or lose on these games when it's up against the best players. I'm not gonna be shocked if we lose against teams that are dealt out the best hands. But the thing we want to do is the small wins within the game. Even if we lose the overall game, if we have significant battles that we win within the game, we can take those into games that are actually a lot more non-stacked against us, and we actually can win them much more balancedly.
Yeah, I get
That's
that.
hard.
Something that I encountered, I first joined our esports program here in 2020. I was a Rainbow Six Siege player back in my prime. I coach the team now, but we had a similar scrim experience to you guys. I do not remember winning a single scrim almost the entire semester. It was so bad. It was not even funny how bad we were. And then we finished up that fall semester making playoffs and making a top 4 run. And then going into the spring with just no hope still, since we were just we couldn't really do much in our league. An early exit in the playoffs after making top 4 in our group was terrible. We got put out in the round of 32 against some team we had never heard of, and we were so upset. And then we go into the spring and we played for 2 weeks, and something just clicked. I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened, but we were regarded as like the second best team in the nation on one of the maps in the map pool, by far. Like absolutely just killer.
It's Coach Cup.
No one had any idea what we were doing or what we were doing differently than all these other teams, and we were just scrimming teams who were just way better than us. And even with that in mind, like, I didn't think we had much going for us at that point. And then we made our CEA Open playoff run all the way down until the semifinals, where we got a top 4 finish there, made the Invite League, and we got ranked 17th in the nation.
There you go.
That was like the big idea there was just like the amount of times we lost in scrims against these teams who were way better than us was the biggest game changer I think I ever experienced. The amount that I learned, even then I watched our club's League of Legends stream last night, and I know I'm like a bronze League of Legends player at heart. I know I am. And watching those guys, I was like, man,
They had a good game.
they had a really good game. It was like everything was going their way.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jay for the draft gap in the second game. I don't know what happened there.
Shout out the Azir TP.
the Azir team. Oh, no.
Walkable TP.
No. I don't even. I can't even talk about that one. It was like 6 feet of distance.
Summoner spell of all time.
Yeah, I was very happy with my team yesterday. They managed game 1. They drafted pretty well. I told them like what to ban beforehand, but I wasn't able to actually be there for the draft for game 1 because I was in the middle of the varsity. And they were able to fully self-sufficiently draft, and they were able to play extremely well that game 1. Game 2, I was able to be there for the draft, and I was able to sort of give a little input here, a little input there. Overall, though, I was just telling them, if you just curb stomped this team, run it back. Like, if they're not going to change it up, you don't change it up either.
They picked a Collie as like their third pick, and they were like, no, that's actually Thresh.
Yeah,
or not Thresh, or something else.
Yeah, it was a Collie was Thresh, and then they
Spelled pretty
picked
similar.
Evelyn.
Evelyn,
and
and that was Azir.
Yeah, that one threw
Which,
me off.
If you manage to, you mess up once in a like draft lol, pro draft, any of that sort of thing. Okay, sure. You know what?
I was looking at their stat page. I think it's like a website called like Multi GG or something. And I was like, oh, their mid laner plays a Kali. Like their mid laner did actually play the champ that was selected, and they were like, no, we're not actually picking that.
They just changed their minds like 2 seconds later. Yeah.
It's okay. They got a 60%. That's
They were pretty close.
only a failing grade in every class, but happens to the best of us.
It's fun stuff to talk about nonetheless. Yeah. So I mean, I'm at least proud of you guys. Even then, like losing in scrims is like, in my opinion, the worst thing in the world because I hate losing.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
It's infuriating.
I'd rather lose a scrim game than win a scrim game.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I would rather lose than win.
It's nice to lose in scrims. Once I moved myself like away from as a player, like I started understanding like losing in scrims, there's so much more to learn losing in the scrims than there was like winning. Because whenever I was like pub stomping teams in a scrim, I was like, yeah, no, this scrim's just not worth it.
Yeah, we don't ever VOD review wins. There's no point.
There's no point. Yeah,
we can see the good plays we made. Okay, we can congratulate ourselves, pat ourselves on the back, good job, but there's no point. When we lose a scrim, we lost it for a reason, right? They played better than us, I mean, majority of the time. So there's things to watch, there's things to learn from, and we do like pretty much every time we lose a scrim, the next scrim we start off by VOD reviewing it. And I love doing that. I love doing it. Even if it's not me who made a mistake, even if it's our top laner Aiden who's getting yelled at for missing a minion or something and something funny like that. Like I still love doing that and seeing what we can improve on when it's in a situation where we can do that. Because come time for CeeLo games, Nace games, we're losing those and it's a real life impact. Like we're like, dang, we just lost an important game. But if we lose a scrim, I'm like, okay, big whoop. Now we get to watch it over and learn from it. I'd rather lose than win every time.
Yep, I definitely think that we have a good mindset about our losses. That's why we were able to win these ELO fall warm-up games despite having such a rough win rate in scrims. It's just because we have the outlook of scrim harder teams and learn from it, right? Don't take it don't get pissed over it. And obviously, like I could tell when we were on our absolute banger loss streak, I could tell it was starting to impact how we played, and it was starting to impact like our mentals a bit. I could tell. I even mentioned it, like it looked like we were not playing for like the sake of trying to win. It looked like we were playing for the sake of trying not to lose. which is a very different thing. It doesn't sound like it at first, but the more you think about it, the more it is. And that was getting very detrimental to us because it meant that we weren't actively doing what we need to do to win. We were just trying to prevent them from doing that, which it doesn't work. If all you're doing is playing to protect yourself, you're never going to... If you only play to block attacks, you're never going to get the attack off to win. So we were giving ourselves no opportunity to win because we were just doing the same thing every game and trying to hope that, okay, this time we just do our strategy and we don't lose, hopefully. And that just doesn't work. And I think that once we had those wins, it just all melted away instantly because all of a sudden we were seeing, okay, we just do our stuff and we just play correctly and it works and it'll just be fine. But we have to actually do our stuff and not just be afraid.
Something to even note on is like the game day mindset is so much different than a practice mindset.
So much different.
It is a completely different change where it's like as soon as you get into the game day, you're just like all those things you practiced, you're just like you're in the zone at that point.
So many less skibbities.
Bro.
You can't.
Yeah, I caught my
Man,
nerves.
that reference had to come out.
It was worse when it was Sigma, I think.
No, last night was the worst.
You think?
Last night was the most obnoxious.
You guys have so
one
many
yet.
like in-house jokes on your
It's
team.
because
I
Aiden
don't
is just
get
like
it.
reciting off the most unfunny memes possible.
He watches a TikTok before the scrim and he just seeps it all.
Yeah,
and then
he lets it all
he
out.
lets it all out in the scrim.
He was literally just we'll be mid-team fight yesterday, and this had me so tilted. We'd be mid-team fight, and instead of like calming like targets or something, he's going like Giga Chad, Giga Chad, Giga Chad.
Yeah, he would say Giga Chat a lot
And he
yesterday.
was saying it in like this weird voice too, so it sounded like he was trying to do like a Quagmire from Family Guy, Giggity. So I'm just thinking about Giggity Chad as this guy's like diving the enemy backline.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm tilted from game one of scrims because we threw like we were in the NFL.
Yeah,
and
we did do that.
like I'm just sitting there on Kindred, a long-range character, against a Nocturne who makes you short-ranged vision, and I'm instead of hearing targets called out or hearing like spell cooldowns or anything, in team fights, we're just saying nothing, and then I just hear Giga Chad. Giga Chad.
Hey, I don't know why you
Giga
say it on
Chad.
me. Every team fight, I would scream one word, and it was ball. I would scream it like 20 times over because we had Oriana Rakan.
Okay,
So
okay.
if you put the ball on me, I would jump in and I would scream ball, 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 ball.
It worked.
yeah, that
I
makes
mean,
sense. Okay.
We, as Zach said yesterday, we had a bit of a glue drinking comp, but it worked because
No, that is what
no,
he said.
we were definitely eating glue.
That is what he said.
We
He
were
called us the
eating glue.
Elmer Squad.
Oh my goodness. Oh
The
my
Elmer's
goodness.
Enforcers
The
coming out
Elmer's
strong.
Yeah.
We were just all we did in that composition, and like it was correct because that's how our comp wins. But all we did was we just kind of clumped up and just ran at them and hit them.
Yes.
And this is somebody who's in the same division as us in CLAW, and we won 1-1 against them because they had to go before the third game.
We would
could
have won that
start.
third game. Tempo was on
I
us.
think we
we had the
in game
the
one,
winning.
we were winning for a majority of game one until we just like NFL style threw it for no apparent reason because we just got bored. I don't know. But I first picked Rumble after not playing it for like 2 years. Don't tell Zach I said that. This won't be aired in time for him to know.
No, it won't
But-
be. Not in time for the game. Yeah, you're right. It won't be.
But I'm picking Rumble again tonight.
I was
that
already privy to
champion's
this
OP.
information, so it's okay.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I was like, nah, pick me Rumble, and I like forced him to do it, and I just randomly blinded Rumble, or not blinded. I think I knew my matchup.
We first picked Caitlyn.
Yeah, we first picked Caitlyn. I like R2, B2, B3, so second or third pick, Rumble.
Rumble and then our
And I wanted the Rumble because I knew that it was good, and I wanted to learn Rumble, and I just was dominating the early game with it, and then just I think the entire team collectively just kind of turned our brains off at like the 20-minute mark. He's the little dude with like the flamethrower on the map.
one of the Yordles. One of the old suit.
on the mech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's go. He doesn't use mana.
He's short with
the sound was
He's
awesome.
kind of like my top laner, right? He's short in a mech.
Okay, no, I get it now. Yeah.
Yep.
No, you're right. It also looks like Aiden too. You're right.
Kinda does,
That's a
yeah.
joke. I'm sorry, Aiden.
I'm not.
Same haircut.
You guys are listening to 89.1 WIDR FM. I thank you guys for the insight on so far how your season's been going, at least the practice and stuff like that. Zach didn't want to touch on them too much. He wanted to avoid it at all costs. It felt like last week, so it was really fun
Don't blame him.
to at least get to touch on it some more. But for all you listeners out there, at least if you join on here and you do your best to keep up with the podcast, you get to hear about some of the games from the varsity side, at least for the most part. We do our best to update you each week on how those games go. This past week, your Broncos had faced up against a couple of tough opponents. The varsity side dropping an 0-2 defeat, sadly, against University of Buffalo, whose power was was right before the game. Like an hour and a half before the game, Buffalo's power went out. And they were like, oh, we might have to cancel. Can we reschedule? And they were like, no. We are not rescheduling this game. We have no time. But luckily, they came back in time. Buffalo, I said 0-2 defeat. It was a 1-2 defeat. We picked up the second map on Lotus, the first map being Haven. A lot more of a struggle bus on that one. It was like a 13-5 loss. But the second game was a 13-7 win, so they brought it back. But Bind was not the same for you Valorant players out there. Bind was... It was as much as a Bind game goes in your ranked experience where you just like lost 13-2 and you were like, yeah, that was Bind, and you just went next. So tough loss against Buffalo, but they're extremely strong, second or first in the division right now for the MAC conference. And then yesterday, Rocket League had gone up against Ball State University in Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky was right ahead of us in the standings at 6th place, where both were boasting the same record, about 4-5 or 3-4 at the time. But we picked up a nice 3-1 victory over them. A couple of overtime wins with J-Bar and Redo scoring some crucial goals there at the end of the regulation and bringing them back into overtime and securing some last-second goals. Absolutely crucial to win that series out. And then going up against Ball State, who had recently qualified for Collegiate Rocket League, the highest competitive level for the game. We talked about how our Broncos had made it there in the past. It was a totally different game. It felt like the tempo was off for your Broncos early on, and Ball State just had the number each and every single time. A lot of reads in the midfield and simply just had the possession 90% of the game. So pretty much a tough loss at that point. Got a few nice goals, able to get a couple clips here and there, but overall, Ball State took that win. Even then, after that, your Overwatch teams are doing pretty well so far as well. The Overwatch varsity team picked up a nice 3-1 win in their series. I'm not sure who they were up against, but they picked up a nice win, bringing them up to, I think, an even 3-2 now, or not even, but they're at like 2-2, I think, or 3-3 in the season so far. So doing pretty well early on in their also their warm up. We'll be seeing them in the spring, as well as you guys in the spring for your Collegiate League of Legends season. So I'll be very excited to do some production for you guys then. And then I think besides that, a little bit of a club roundup update for you guys out there. We're trying to get a little bit more involvement from the club, get a little bit more notice from them out there as well, boast more about our games and stuff like that. Shout out to our producer who's in the studio right now. They picked up a forfeit win over Akron's club team. Shout out to you, Onyx. Thank you for doing our production for us today. But they picked up a forfeit win over Akron after one of their players made the run back on Ganondorf. Absolutely swept. It was insane. Lots of pop-offs were coming from those guys. And then the other Smash team, our main team, the A team, they picked up a nice just 2-0 victory straight up over the team they played. Great from them. It was awesome to see. I was very shocked at how Smash looks on a competitive format. I don't know if you guys have seen anything like that from it, but it is different for crew battles. I was not expecting the format that they were going for. But
looking at the team in general, I've been very impressed to be seeing that. Just to talk a little bit more on the Smash teams and club teams in general, but seeing some of the fighting game teams that we have in the club this year, that is a new big surge of players coming into the club this year.
Yeah.
We did not have many fighting game players in the past.
Not at all.
Didn't even
That's
have
like one
any
of our
last year,
quietest part, yeah.
And shout out to all of our new fighting game players. Like, they're doing absolutely amazing, and I'm really excited to see them. They're active in the Discord. They're becoming great members of our community, and they're doing great representing the school. So I'm really proud of them, and I'm really excited to see like what we can do in the future with more time to develop and more time to get events going with them, that sort of stuff. Because as their part of the program grows, like we're going to have a lot more opportunities to do a lot of cool stuff with them. So
That's
I'm very
awesome.
excited to see that just from the side of being president of the club. I love to see that.
Yeah, it's tons of fun. I had so much fun watching them. I was like I was pacing like hesitantly scared while I was watching them play. So it was a crazy bout of matches for them. Following that up, the Overwatch Club team has still not dropped a map at all in the regulation season.
Wow.
They are at, I think, a 5-0 record right now, and they have not dropped a single map in a best of 5 each and every single time. 3-0s
Wow.
insanely through 15 maps straight so far. This is going to be the jinx, by the way, the caster's curse. So I'm hoping that I finally cursed them to use a
Hoping.
map. Well, they need to learn. They're absolutely dominant.
No, they're
It's
better than
insane.
varsity. Easy.
Well, they scrimmed against them once, and it was not the same team that I saw winning these maps. But hey, I think with a little bit of practice, they could give them a run
There's
for
a
their
threat,
money. I
yeah.
think it'd be fun to
Which
watch.
is great. Like, the more I remember back in the day, it's been a little while since we've had I know at least in the League of Legends part, but I believe in most of our titles, it's been a little while since we've had a club team that was very much able to threaten the varsity team,
Oh yeah,
which is sort of overall the goal of
it is.
the program, right?
always. That's my
And
biggest goal every single
It's
time.
been since my first semester in 2021 on the in fall on the League of Legends team, where we scrimmed against, at this point it was club versus academy because we didn't even have varsity at this
Mhm.
point. And we were able to actually put up a bit of a fight in scrims against them. And I remember playing that because I remember playing mid lane against my 80 carry Kylon, Alex.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was so infuriated because my team's entire win condition was my jungler and my 80 carry getting a lead. And
Did Alex play Kali still at that point?
he played Cassiopeia against me.
Oh man,
I was not allowed to play the game because I was also
not at all.
I was
Jay
also
thinks
an
about this game
aggressive
every
mid
night.
laner.
When he goes to bed.
I think about this every time Alex asks for a gank, and I just go,
Nope.
no.
Oh,
You
so
beat
I'm
me in a
getting
game.
punished. Wow. I'm
remember
getting
that-
punished for my ADC's crimes. I see how it is.
Yep, like you said, you're the in the role that sucks. Anyway,
You're on the loser roll.
Yep.
GG.
but I just remember back to that, and that was a very fun series because it felt competitive. It felt like we could have been able to take the game off of them, but overall, the main team was just, they had a lot better macro, so they were just able to be beating us in that sense. And that roster, that academy roster that I was on, ended up not going. Ended up being, I was the only one returning the next semester
that's
for
right.
various reasons.
I do remember that.
And
That was the semester before I joined as a club
yeah,
officer.
so unfortunately, it became a roster that wouldn't be able to compete with the club team anymore. So we haven't had one since then. I'm hoping that with enough coaching and improvement, my current club team might actually be able to threaten the varsity team. But
Well, I was going to ask about that as the coach of the club team. Do you think there'll ever, like, in the upcoming, like, weeks or something, do you think we're going to have a scrim with them? Because, I
No.
mean, I don't think
it would be productive at this point, just
Okay.
because our varsity roster is also the best League of Legends varsity roster we've had
Yeah.
on paper in
I
history.
think, hey, you at least put each other in the draft. Jay versus Zach in the draft. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I think
how,
Jay could
how
do
is
something
Jay going
devious.
to
I
draft
can cook-
against us?
Yeah.
I mean, I could cook something devious up. The main problem is I am also going to be drafting against myself at
Yeah,
that
right.
point, so
Yeah.
I know what I would do. But I think that in terms of the draft, Zach does have a better understanding of how certain things work, but I know what my players want better than him, so I'd have the advantage of knowing what both teams' players do. But just overall, I don't think that the games would be beneficial just because we have a top 600 player as our top laner on varsity versus someone who is still learning top lane, and he's been improving very rapidly. He's high gold, low platinum range now, and he's able to beat emerald players in lane sometimes.
That's true. I
But-
did see that. Wasn't that he was against an Emerald laner yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah,
That was nuts.
but the thing is, across the board, there's no role where club would have an advantage, and varsity is playing more often against teams that are better than varsity, and we're having to win off of macro against them.
Mhm.
So that's the thing where I don't think it would be really beneficial for either team, because in its current state, the things that club needs to work on are not things that you would learn by getting goober stomped by a team that is just
I like to
that
take
much
credit for that
higher
term.
ranked. Yeah.
Like,
I have been infusing the varsity team with the term goober
Yeah.
since I joined.
Bro, we've become goober pilled.
Goober
Oh,
bill.
okay.
But
Not
yeah,
goodness.
Every time it happens.
as much as I would
Awesome to hear.
love
Smoke.
to have a scrim happen there, and it was beginning to look like maybe it would actually happen if we continued our loss streak, but I don't think that it would be very beneficial for either team, and it's not a diss at all against the club team. It's just a matter of
The things they need to learn will be learned by playing.
The time in
Yeah.
the game as well. I mean,
yeah, we our varsity players are also just some incredibly mechanically talented players. Like, as good as our club players are, and I think they are good, they're undefeated in their league currently. Like, I am very proud of them. They'd be playing against, like, the top lane they'd be playing against is top 600 in the nation. Like,
yeah.
the jungler is top 4,000 in the nation. Like, they're going to be playing against they'd be playing against people who are playing against semi-pros and pros.
Mhm.
So it would be very much you have to, at every stage of the game, be passing the brain check, the hand check, and the voice check. Because you have to be calming nonstop against a team of just looking at, say we were going into a scrim against a team similar to varsity, right? To beat that team, you have to constantly be aware of what's going on in the game. You have to be thinking about everything a minute 30 seconds ahead. You have to constantly be talking about all of that, and you have to be constantly mechanically playing correctly. Because if you just start overthinking everything and you're just thinking and you're not talking or you're not playing correctly, you're just going to lose off that. Because nobody in, like, Masters is just, like, going to randomly, like, just break their keyboard with their face because they don't know what they're doing. No, like, people know what they're doing mechanically, so they're very comfortable and they don't have to be actively thinking about their mechanics a ton, meaning then that they're able to be putting in more thought into what am I doing macro wise, and able to be putting more effort into comms, which that's actually the biggest thing that I have the club team working on right now is comms. And I gave them an assignment that was, before their next scrim, they all have to give me a written up bit of notes on the comms from one of our varsity wins last weekend. Because I want them all to write down the notes and sort of think about, okay, what was the person in my role calming about? Because one of our scrims for club was a little bit rough, and I noticed that when they were losing, their comms just shut down entirely. Mm-hmm. And that's even a problem that we've dealt with on varsity, where we had in one of our recent losses, we had less than half the words that we had in one of our wins. And it's very much a difficult thing to overcome, and that's why I'm focusing it with them, because that's something where they can still go to the solo queue gym on their own, and they can build that muscle of mechanics on their own and improve a lot on their own like that. But one thing they can't do on their own is improve their team play. So that's what I'm focusing on with them, is the team play aspects of things. And that includes, I really want them to be calming amazingly, because the different, like, having better comms and better synergy. The varsity team lost to the Emerald Enclave from that.
Look, don't bring that up.
There was a disturbingly low-ranked team.
Do not bring that incident up.
No, it's okay, because they came into it telling us, like, I know we're low-ranked, but we've beaten multiple full master rosters. So we were like, okay, we've been on our loss streak recently. Like, we could use a somewhat easier scrim to sort of get our bearing back. And then we proceeded to lose to them too, which hurt.
It was
but
bad.
the thing is, they had very good coordination and they had very good communication, because they were all playing together as five, as a unit. And that can make up for a huge mismatch in skill or in, like, mechanics or game knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you it's the classic apes together strong mentality where you can have five players who are just individually worse who will beat a better team. And we did that last year on varsity, where we beat some teams that were just straight up better than us, who should never have lost to us, but we played better as a team, and we communicated better, we thought together, and we played as one unit of five rather than 5 units of one. And that's what I really am hoping that the club team is going to get very good at, and that's why I had them assigned to do that sort of thing, and that's why I'm going to keep stressing it. And I will, and if any other coach ever asks me, like, what do you think is the most important thing to have my team practice right now, if you're at the club level especially, but also if you're at a varsity level, I think if you have good communication, everything else is so much easier.
Yep.
So you gotta learn the good communication early.
And I have a good perspective to provide for that because my role, zero mechanics. Like, you don't need to know how to play champions. What you do need to know, loser role. But what you do need to know is the map and the game. And it's really easy to tell for me when we are outmatched in that area. That team of full emeralds, and I'm not just saying that just to gas them up, but they were better than us in that area. We had the better mechanics at certain points. We were the better players, like single hand, like if you take each of us in a vacuum, better players, but we got outclassed because they had a better understanding of the game. My point being that we've done that to teams who are better than us this year. There are teams that are outmatching us with mechanics, with rank, which our coach stresses every time that rank doesn't mean as much as we think it is, but
No, it doesn't.
it does mean that you are.
It doesn't.
It does mean that you are better at specific champions. Like, you can be, if you're a grandmaster, that means you've played a champion enough to get to a grandmaster ranking at it, which is impressive. But then we pull out with much better understanding of the game itself. And I always say, and this is something I told Zach in my interview to get on the team, that League is a lot like chess. Right, and you can do like the cheesy little openings where you can sneak a dragon, or you can 5-man invade with a better team, and you can get a better opening based on some cheese because the enemy didn't understand it. But at the end of the day, you will always have to play chess. You always have to play the game of League, and you have to be the better person who understands the game in every facet of its understanding to win that game. A lot of the times in our early scrims, we just didn't have the right communication and like the 5-man mentality of staying on the same page and understanding the game with each other. And that's why we went on a 13-game loss streak. It was demoralizing. But then we come back, and every time we lose, Zach is stressing, like, it's more about the mentality. Don't drop the mentality. Like, I don't care that we just lost. Keep your mentality. Let's work on the things we can work on. And then we come back with a 5-man understanding of the game, and we're starting to beat Grandmaster and Masters teams.
It's beautiful to see. It's awesome
Great.
to see. To wrap up some of those other games so far, I mean, the Rocket League team, they've been picking up a little bit. Our club team has been on a little bit more of a slump as well, losing quite a few games here early on in the season, but it happens nonetheless. We have 2 Valorant club teams as well. They both netted a couple 0-2 losses this past week as well. So, bummer's enough to see, but hey, it's the whole point of the club. We're here to improve. We're here to grind and make ourselves back up to that varsity level. You guys are listening to 89.1 WIDR FM. And the last thing I wanted to tell you guys about, or at least talk to you guys a little bit more about, is our League of Legends Invitational. Now, from what I've talked to you guys before we started this podcast, is you also have a minimal understanding of the event or the tournament itself. But outside of knowing that little bit of a minimalistic thing, at least I'll tell you guys out there listening at home or in your car or anywhere else around, we have a very awesome opportunity here where we're gonna do our qualifiers online. We'll have just one weekend. We do a wild set of qualifier matches leading into a playoff bracket where the top 4, I believe, will be going into a LAN event where we're going to be hosting that here at our WMU Esports Arena in a beautiful stage, an amazing setup, and hopefully to get an audience there to at least appreciate you guys and talk to you a little bit more about that. But coming into an event like that as a player, seeing how many teams could possibly sign up for that, and the practice that you may be putting in for that, what's the kind of thought bubble that might be in your head going into an event like this coming up in, I think, just a few weeks, actually?
Yeah, I saw that it was later on this month, possibility of having, like, going right from our CLOL playoffs into that if we make playoffs, which is exciting and terrifying at the prospect of how much League of Legends I'll be playing. Yeah. But I am very excited for it, and I really hope that it has a big turnout, because last year we weren't able to go to any invitationals. Oh, yeah. We did one online tournament, the Bandwidth Bowl, which was very fun and was honestly a really, really cool experience, because there was a flash in the pan moment during the Bandwidth Bowl that I remember, where this is after we'd already been knocked out of CLO, after all of our season was basically over. This was sort of like, after everything else was done, this was sort of the last thing we were doing. And I remember, like, at first we did okay, then we got knocked down to the lower bracket. And I remember going on, like, I want to say, like, at some point during this, we went on like a 3-game win streak against like 3 teams. And I just remember it was feeling like we had it in that moment, where it was just that flash in the pan of the perfect amount, where we were just doing exactly what we always did during CLOL when we were winning, and we were just playing exactly how we play. And it was the flash in the pan moment of exactly what we're meant to be doing, and it felt great because it felt like we were making our big run. Eventually we ended up getting knocked out, but I just remember that, and I remember that feeling, and I want so desperately to be able to go in person and have that experience with my team. So I'm really hoping that we make the in-person part of this, and I'm very much excited to compete in it because there's nothing more fun than playing in a tournament.
Definitely. Max, I know you don't do you have a lot of experience with tournaments or stuff like this even?
Nope.
So, I mean, what's your idea as a new competitor coming into this? I mean, even when I started off my first year here at Western as a competitor, I mean, I was absolutely petrified to play my first game against Michigan Tech ever, right? And so, you know, what's your kind of thought process coming into this? You have experience playing these games so far. You've gotten a couple on-hand experience, but you haven't been like live yet. You haven't been live in front of an audience where people can judge you. What's your thought process coming into some of this?
I mean, I really don't know, and that's the truthful answer. Is like coming into this, that's something that again Zach brought up in the interview, is like, what's your experience with competitive League of Legends? My answer is big old none. Goose egg.
Zero.
I don't have any. But the thing is, like, that's just something that's really exciting. I've watched Worlds every year. And that's not to compare that to what
recap video last night. Sorry to cut you off.
It's
I watched
okay.
the highlight video.
They are not looking good right now, but they'll get better. Anyways, but it's like that sort of scene is what I joined esports for. I didn't join esports just to play 5-man rank flex every weekend.
Oh yeah.
I joined esports to get on that stage, give it my best, and even if we lose, I mean, we made a heck of a show. Like, and I'm really excited for that to start. And like, we've been doing that. It's different when it's remote, and it's different when there's like not a whole stage and there's no cameras, no lights. But
there's a different feeling when you're on stage and that person's right across from you or to your left or to your right. Like that is a different feeling. It's because you know that right there, they're playing in the same space as you. There's just zero advantages they could have in a home environment. It's all just right there happening live, and that's a different feeling.
I can't wait for that.
Insane to feel. So I'm hoping we get you guys some in-person stuff, even with some of the teams you might compete against in CLOL, trying to see if Central wants to come out in the future, in the spring, to come out and play against you guys. That's something we've been trying to brew in the factory.
I hope they come to take their L's. I'll hand it to them in person.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for joining me here on the ESBN podcast 89.1. It's been a fun gig so far. I'm having a great time with all of this. Next week is going to be our fall break. We won't have an episode next week, so there'll be a little bit of an off week, but we'll be right back up, kicking it off before Halloween. So I might have a little bit of a special with some new guests on the podcast from some of the other teams. So thank you guys for joining me.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate it. It's Chippy. I'm signing off. We will see you guys next time.